how important do you think for you to understand the psychology of the other side? Because that depends a lot, right? How on, the, like, say, I mean, unfortunately in divorce law practice, you're often actually, your client is the person who's being abused. Your client is a victim of, maybe even violence, or victim of, it can be victim of, some kind of extortion or all of that, right? So you're dealing with that dynamics, right? So do you think psychology plays a role in your experience?
I would say psychology in any sort of litigation, any sorts of adversarial this thing, right? The psychology of the opposite party, the psychology, of course, one aspect is the system as it is structured, which we should be knowing about. We should be investing time and effort in understanding, practicing the craft as much as possible. Another big, thing that you need to deal with is the psychology of the other party. Also the psychology of the counsel representing the other party, the family members, right? So you have to look at the opposite party as a collective. A great example is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. It was not just the man and the woman on trial. It was their lawyers as well. And and their PR teams as well. So ultimately, what decree was passed was one story. But ultimately what happened in the courts of the public, that was another thing, right? So all of these things play out as well. If you've got a matter going on in a courtroom, but you've got a parallel proceeding going on in maybe say the media, or maybe in the community of the two individuals, that has a huge impact on a lot of things. A lot of times people have come and said that I want justice and I want to do this ABC thing, not because, I have a revenge or I have a bone to pick, but it's also about what kind of perception has been created in society, right? A lot of times clients have said that I do not want to go for this kind of a mutual divorce because the document says that there was no, fault by any party. There were only temperamental differences. A person says, no, I've been exactly as you said. I've been a victim. I've been tortured. I've been harassed. I've been troubled to no end. There are wives who have been, abandoned on highways, kicked out of the house in the middle of the night when they don't know anybody else in the city. There are husbands who have been, falsely accused, their names splashed over the newspapers, the internet. Their, a lot of husbands say, my wife wrote to my company, and now the people in my the HR department, my boss, everyone knows, and she sent a copy of this horrendous complaint that her lawyer has drafted to them. And this is the kind of perception that so a lot of these things are also at play. Another aspect I would say that you have to look at is the competence, right, of the party as well as their counsel, right? Now, you are a smart, sophisticated lawyer who's actually putting in a lot of work. Maybe their lawyer isn't. Now, again, it doesn't sound right, but you have to capitalize on that as well, right? If the other party is not so financially affluent, that is another aspect. To what extent can they endure litigation, be it the boy or the girl, right?
So, also, there's a factor like, if you're dealing with a narcissistic person, their behavior
Absolutely.
pattern is very predictable. What you have to say in the court, or even what you have to write in your correspondence, it can absolutely trigger them and bring the truth in front of the court, or they will take a miscalculation. Maybe you can share some stories.
Courts, absolutely. So there is, in fact, when you say this, best example that comes to my mind is what happens in cross-examination. So any one of us who has done cross-examinations or who've seen how cross-examinations happen, one of the easiest ways.
You profile the other party. You profile. Okay, what is the nature of this person? And that's why very important to learn some psychology.
And in fact, I would say that, one kind of personality is narcissistic behavior. But if you talk about the definition of ego, every single human being to a certain extent, unless they're perhaps Gautam Buddha, has a certain amount of ego, right? And they have a certain kind of an identity which is attached to that ego of whatever they are, however they identify themselves as. So if you're able to kind of identify their identity, what they identify themselves as,
you can predict what action they'll take.
Absolutely. What they will say, and you can, if needed, use it against them as well. And sometimes you can aid them if they are your client. That is another aspect, right? One aspect is look at the opposite party, look at exactly what is going on. Another aspect is, first you must look at your client, look at what the client actually wants, and if you're able to truly bring out what the client wants out from the client, that is one of the biggest achievements that you can have as an advert.